my shin. Oh, hello, Caitlin. Hello, Luna Shine. I'm just getting everything set up. I'm always getting everything set up. Just like you think I'd have the foreknowledge to do it beforehand. No. Hello, hello. Settle back. How has Monday been for you guys? Oh, that's right. Public schooling has holidays. Oh, hello, SK. A lonely potato. And singular potato, you could say. Let me just start posting. I did think ahead today, like I have like posts ready, so then I just have to make sure I'm live and then I just hit post, or else I'll forget about it. I'll be streaming and it's just be like 1 or 2 people and I'm like, cool, I guess not a lot of people had time to do it, and that's fine. I love streaming because it keeps me on track. But then I realized, oh wait, I don't think I ever sent out a post that said I was live. Yes, I do. At least I hope you're talking to me. I do actually have a couple rough animations. They're usually on my Twitter though. It's like 1 or 2 seconds long. I think I did one with like the devil and dice. Even then I couldn't stop myself from adding lyrics. I don't know, I just love adding the lyrics. Or doing like typography with it. Love that. Ooh. Oh, 2-week holidays. It's like, it's just enough time. You know, just enough time to get used to being on holiday, and then when you go back, you're just like, can't wait for the next 2 weeks I have off, right? Don't scare the ghost. We are happy to have him here. See how far I got. I started lining it last night. And then when my eyes started crossing, I'm like, well, I guess it's time to sleep. Now I was hoping to do this. Like, this one's a bit late. I usually say that I'm like, ooh, this is wrong. I usually start these at 3, but one of my brothers is on Minecraft, and the other one is playing League of Legends. And I'm just like, hope the frames aren't super bad. That's all I'm saying. That's because I have not caught up with Steven Universe in like a long time. Let's just put it like a long time. I'm so slow with these things. Watch me finally catch up like 2 years later from now. So see you 2021. I'm doing Restream again. To let me stream to both Twitch and YouTube, and I'm all like, oh, I'm usually hooked up to another screen, so I can have like both chats open and just kind of glance over, because the Restream is a bit delayed. Like, I'll get your messages 1 or 2 minutes later. So forgive me if I'm like slow at replying to messages that you just put out there. I downloaded the chat thing, and you don't see it on my screen, but it's a kind of like, the chat is on the side and it's transparent, and I can touch things through it, and I can just interact by clicking like control or whatever. It's pretty neat, actually. This way I don't have to like go back and forth on multiple screens. Yes! They took a chance on my furry art abilities. I got it for someone on my Discord. They saw my stuff. They were just like, "Oh, sweet." So Risa Woods, if you're out there, I know I just announced it and I closed Discord right now, but if they stop by, just know we're chatting about you. I think I was posting some practice shots on my Twitter because I kind of panicked. I'm all like, I have no idea what a wolf looks like. So I went and found a whole list of references and I had a fun time sketching them. Wolves be big and soft. I have learned this. This is scientific observation, you guys. They have big teethy. I don't have a DeviantArt. People do ask me that, but I can barely keep up on the social media I have. I think I just have Twitter and Tumblr for now. And my profile. Not my profile, my Poison profile, which is where I take commissions from. And you can see my portfolio, which makes it sound so official. I love the weather right now. It's comfortably cool and warm, and the sun, I believe the sun is almost already setting. Here in California, anyway. Drinking punch. Oh. Everyone in the Midwest and beyonder and that has like regular cold weather is saying that, and I'm just like, oh no. We got rain for like the past couple days, and I think that was the most wintry weather we've had, besides like freezing cold at night. Because we are a desert, so it's like boiling hot in the day, and when the sun goes down, it's like this weird, freezing, dry cold. Lived here for a couple years now, so I should be used to it, but every single time, I love to moan and complain about it. It's the thing you bond with people over, complaining about your local weather. Oof, yeah. That weather where you have to be careful taking a shower right before you leave to do something because your hair will freeze and you'll be able to snap your own hair strands. And it's like, it gets to negative 13 degrees, right? And then you add in the wind chill, which makes it even colder, and you're just like, are you kidding me? Kind of regretting putting the clothes on such a light blue. Trying to find what line of color was I trying to do here. My sketches are so messy. Oh god. When I'm drawing it, I think it's the coolest thing ever. It's like, oh, I love doing the lines, and it's like, oh, these sketches came out great. And then when I'm actually trying to line them, I'm all like, what was I trying to do here? It freezes. I used to live in Wisconsin for a couple of years while I was finishing high school. I think my last 2 years of high school. And so when it came around that the period where we had our PE period, we had an indoor pool. And when it was the last period of the day, my hair would still be wet. And when I'd get out, it would instantly freeze. It would just look, it'd just be a chunk of a solid hair chunk. And then I could snap it. I only did it once, and then my mom caught me. She was like, don't do that. I can't believe you're breaking your own hair. And I was just like, but it was so fun. Don't snap your hair, though. It's bad for your roots, ends. I will confess I don't know much about hair. When people tell me, oh, you have split ends, for the longest time I had no idea what they were talking about. I just kind of made really sympathetic noises, and then I'd be like, okay. No, it's fun to chat with people. Honestly, I'd probably have no set topic to chat about if I didn't have people in my chat kind of throwing me conversation lifeboats. What else would I have to talk about? I was wondering what to do for this Saturday's scary Saturdays. Because I've done 2, and I like them so far. Thank God I didn't do another 6-hour stream last Saturday. It was just a good 2.5 hours or so. But I have a list of stuff, but none of them really jump out to me. I'm thinking of maybe putting together a poll and just asking, because I have like some idea, like if you'd like to see me work on a comic or give like general comic tips. Or doing a series of just I'll choose like one of my many lyric comic works in progress. Oh, that's right. That's the thing I'm talking about, like one of my many lyric comics. And I'll basically start it off from literally choosing the lyrics and then just go step by step, and we'll see how far we get on a lyric comic, like live on stream. And you'll see how I do it like on Medibang, or how I do my thumbnails, and then how I draw it all together, the coloring, and then maybe I'll even show you guys how I put it together on Shotcut. So it's either going to be a really small one, or it's going to be like a multiple part one through various Saturdays. Or like one Saturday we'll just work on the thumbnailing. I have the thumbnails here for the other one. Check it. I got like this one. I was remixing the music yesterday, and I'm super excited because I already have some scenes planned out for the next one after Crown, and I don't even know what I'm gonna call it yet. Maybe Blood in the Water? Blood Water? I don't know. We'll find out when we get there. But I'm hoping to at least, like, don't quote me on this, but I'm hoping to get it done either January or February, because I want to do one per month. That's my goal for this year. One lyric comic per month. Yeah, the next one, the final one, I'm hoping. I keep thinking like, oh, this is the final one, but I'm like, oh, no, I have another idea. But this one for sure. For sure. Tomorrow for sure. Yo! Glad you could stop by. But yeah, since you're showing interest in it, I think that'd be cool. I might do a Dr. Horrible one. Because I want to keep all the dice ones on the down low for spoilers. Because that's one of the only ones that I'd be like, oh no, I think I should work on that in secret so you guys can get the full impact of it. Even though I'm dying to tell you guys. But you know. Top secret. But yeah, a lyric comic. I might finally just get over myself and do the Dr. Horrible one I've been wanting to do for like forever. To the Hounds by Proto Man. Yes. I have some thumbnails, but I think I want to rework those, so it'd be great from starting off from like scratch. This collar is terrible. Not like the bad collar feeling. It's because it fuels me, you guys. All those screams, all the comments. It's only helping me gain more power. And I'm such a slow worker. I see cool people like Fishy Mom. She puts out animatics every couple of weeks or so, and I'm just like in awe. She makes them all amazing. Like the latest one she's done for Bendy and the Ink Machine. Oh my god. Go check her out, you guys. An inspiration. Unlimited power. It's just a picture of me hunched over like a little gargoyle on a laptop in the dark. Unlimited power. In the cheesy, really detailed style of like the 80s D&D box covers. That was oddly specific. And I don't know why it was oddly specific. I was about to say oddly, but then I heard... Oh, excuse me. Salud! Then I heard my brother swearing in the other room and I was about to say brick. I have never once in my entire life said a swear word. You can take that to the bank. Granted, it's a monopoly bank. And the dealer is me. But, you know, who hasn't cheated when they're playing Monopoly? It's all about hiding the the big bills up your sleeves, you guys. This song, I have it in a very low volume for me, but this song sounds like a Vocaloid. Their whole life without swearing. Yep. That's me. I have never sworn a day in my life. My middle name is No Swear. Oh, I can't even say it with a straight face. Anyway. I love how the muzzle came out. I was about to say the nuzzle. Oh, thank you for stopping by. We have a Discord. I don't know if it's open to like admissions. Is it? Jin, are you still here? Is our Discord open? I know we kind of just like we've been recruiting people via word of mouth, but I do have a Discord. I think I've been drawing for how old am I? I'm pretty old. I'm like 26. And I've been drawing since I was like 3. Let me ask Jin. I don't know if she's here still. Yeah, I realized it when you said it's my voice or something. Yeah, because if you join our Discord, because I don't really add people on my Discord, like to my personal one, because I get super anxious about having a lot of people know when I'm online instantly. But I love chatting through people through our Discord. Let me see if I can get you a link. Because I closed Discord on my laptop. my thing is so slow already, you know. Why take a chance? I think I used to have it. Then it died down a bit since I didn't do much. But now, thankfully, now I think it's a lot more kind of general art thing. Alright, thank you for stopping by! I hope to have it finished soon. This is the first page, but we got, after a couple more rambling minutes of me just nattering on and on. Usually I start drawing faster when like the podcast comes out, because I'm just like having a blast listening to it. Here you go. I think this one expires in a day because I couldn't get the other one. But feel free to join. Yep, just go to the greetings and introduce yourself. Into the introductions and then have fun. Be wild. But not too wild. Not as wild as me. Just I tend to show up out of nowhere. Well, no, first I tend to disappear. And then I tend to show up out of nowhere at like 3 in the morning to drop like a whole mess of works in progress. And like, hey, look at this thing. And then I leave again. Now that I'm looking at this, I believe that shoulder might be a bit crooked. I think I remember this jacket. This was the leather jacket, right? The puffy leather one. It was cute. Those puffy leather jackets always, at first glance, seem to me like garbage bags, which is so bad. But I'm used to like Harley Davidson leather jackets. That's the aesthetic. My mom has a fondness for leather jackets that have 1,000 zippers. They're heavy as hell. But they're also so very warm. Speaking of warm, I think my punch just like completely cooled. Sorry if you could hear me drinking punch. Oh nice, I see you. Bam! You are now enfolded in the gentle arms of Art Discord. The song seems so nice. It's like kind of like this gentle moving thing. One day I'll just like bite the bullet and find a copyright free song to like animate something to, or to do an animation, an animatic lyric comic to. Because then after I post it, I won't have YouTube giving me this like really amazingly quick gotcha email. It's just like, there's a copyright thing in your video. We're only here to inform you of this. And just like, did you really have to send me an entire email? Like, I knew as soon as I did it. I wish there was like an option for you to like click the button like, I know this is copyrighted, please. I'm going to upload it anyway and I will not make any machinations towards it. Just let me do this. Oh, I forgot to turn off my email alarms. Do not disturb for the next 2 hours email, thank you. This song is so sappy. Just drawing like this no fear I turn off the rough layer and see all my line art layer so super out of whack. One fear. There it is. Every so often, like, I think I'm doing something great where I'm just like, oh yes, doing such fluid line movements with my pen and everything's great. And I look back on it and I'm like, this is just me bullshitting clothing folds. How could I do that? This needs to be a bit bigger. I think the stream dropped a bit. YouTube, come back, please. There we go. Just gives me this heart-stopping video offline. It will be uploaded to YouTube in a small bit. And I just kind of wilt a little bit inside. Because what can I do, you know? Time to go wrangle the internet. Oh, did my playlist end? I think that's telling me to turn off my mic and to get on with the podcast, because I kind of want to see where episode 7 is going now. There we go. I was about to hit stop on the stream on my OBS. Whoops. No. Okay. Turning off mic. Off.
Sophie, is this recording? Sophie? Oh, hello. It's Helen from MAG, Mothers Against Aliens and Ghosts. I just wanted to thank you all for supporting me through my supernatural experience. I'm going through so many changes, I can't tell if it's an awakening or menopause. Anyway, I love you ladies. As you know, my daughter Sophie has been helping me get a handle on the whole internet thing. Funny, in the old days, all you had to do to become a psychic was call into a radio show. But now I guess you gotta be up on social media. Sophie showed me Twitter, which has all these adorable little animal accounts and a lot of memes. My favorite are the ones about wine. But my daughter better not have an account on there because I'm telling you guys, there's some real dirty stuff. I like my language as much as the next lady, but we have to have limits. My username is Helen from MAG. I already have 5 followers. Amazing, right? All day long I've been taking questions from Twitter and my Facebook and everywhere in between just so I can make this video for you. Well, I wanted to make a video, but my hair looks just awful today. Really, I hate all this humidity. The rain totally ruined our first annual seance on the green last week. Let's get to the questions. @friendly Twitterbot says, who are you? Well, Twitterbot, that's so nice of you to ask. I've always just been a little old nobody. Mother, mediocre baker, dental hygienist. But then, I found my true calling. Just like Oprah always said I would. I was patrolling Harding Park, off Wrangler Road. See, Harding's supposed to be the most haunted places in the whole state. There's all kinds of crazy stories about cults and buried bodies and teen pregnancy. My daughter, Sophie, went to camp there before all the attempted murder and stuff. More on that later. Mag and I had a very high-tech surveillance operation. EVP, all that. Our recording equipment was in an old shed, which was also used as a church by this cuckoo cult. That recorder collected 34 days of fuzz. And then it all changed. Well, no, that doesn't really do it justice. One day, I came to the park to change the batteries, and instead, I was the one changed. Oh, that sounds good. I should be a writer for CSI. Sophie, how do I edit this? I saw a bunch of smog in the shed. Like when the exhaust broke on my husband's piece of crap classic Camaro. All the smoke gathered in one place in the middle of the room. And it was making a mask sort of thing. I don't remember much about it except the nose was big and the mouth was sucking in air like a dimensional vortex. They had a twister where their tongue should be. I'd been trained, of course, so I called out, "Begone, ghost, in the name of the Lord Jesus Christ, our Savior!" and clutched my cross necklace, which was hot as my underboob in July, I swear. I drove home so fast, I'm pretty sure I sent some possums to the Rainbow Bridge. Then I sat in my driveway, shaking like my husband on spring cleaning day, until I realized something. I'd been chosen. I had seen the demon for a reason. I had sight. I could see what no one else in this entire world could ever imagine. A ghost in Harding Park. And now, I'm here, taking the psychic world by storm. Next question. My girlfriend Karen from Pilates wants to know what the misting was. You know, Karen, I have a pretty good theory. It was old Reverend Richard. That's right. The leader of that satanic cult. The ones who committed suicide and terrorized our neighborhoods. We don't know much about whatever nonsense they believed. But we know that old Dick was using their sacrifices as a tribute to Satan so he could become a demon. And now, he's giving us the devil's warning. He wants Mag to stop investigating him. But we'd never give up. Not now that it's so interesting. My daughter's new just a friend, Madison, commented on one of my Facebook posts. She said, they never actually found that dude's body, right? Exactly, Madison. You're such a smart girl. No body, no death. And what's beyond death? Just demons. Bros Before Booze asked, why is it always D-men? Funny how the PC brigade hasn't gotten on that one yet, huh, Snowflake? Hashtag men aren't monsters. Well, that's one perspective, Mr. Boo. I guess Richard could have become a D-woman, if that's how he feels. Oh, I really don't get you kids. Next question. My daughter Sophie asked this last one. Mom, she said. She has the cutest little sprout of spinach stuck in the teeth, too. Mom, who cares if there are ghosts in the park? Couldn't we just not go there anymore? Well, honey, that's a sweet thought, but evil is evil, no matter where it rests, and evil makes the world worse for us all. Besides, we don't know the rules here. We don't know how the limits really work. Why, just this week there were 2 car crashes on Wrangler Road outside the park's grounds. Who's to say what caused those, I mean, the police did say they were drunk drivers, but you never know. That said, here are some helpful tips and tricks to help every mother protect the family from paranormal forces. First, always store your brooms upside down. It's good luck. Grow basil, cumin, or dill. They're perfect haunter stoppers. And it's always great to have fresh herbs in the house. You could also make your kids some pesto pasta, or just screw up with curry every once in a while. Oh, I recommend emerald jewelry for warding off demons. But if you don't want to break the bank, spinner will usually fool them. Some folks burn sage, but I prefer a nice aerosol auto fresh sage scent. The ash is too messy for my white carpets. And all ghosts are afraid of crossing water. So remember, if you're facing hell's wrath, just hop in the bath. And of course, never forget that God is watching you. That means you too, Sophie. He sees what you're doing when you and your friends go to the mall, missus. All right, thanks for listening. I'm so excited to see what the future will bring for Mag. If I don't start seeing that future already. Just a little psychic humor. And don't forget to follow at Helen for Mag for more information on all of Harding's hauntings. Thank you so much. Take care.
Oh my God, there's something lurking outside my shed. Lurking. An unknowable evil. Rustling in the bushes like a peeping schoolboy. They think they've cornered me here. Caught me in a trap of my own making. Ha! The subtle shift of their self is enough to give them away. Their shivering breath. The relentless pumping in their chest, loud as a drum kit chucked down the stairs. It's probably another ghost hunter. Helen, back again using my afterlife to make her existence more interesting. Or some neckbeard with a jerry-rigged vacuum who's obsessed with, forums about ectoplasm. Or maybe it's Chad. Chad, the man who murdered me. Escaped from prison, ready to avenge himself now that he's been avenged upon. Avenged from? Now that I've avenged myself over him, I guess is how you would say that. Okay, I'm gonna look. I'm slinking towards the window. I'm moving like a dragonfly skimming over a pond. Like Angelina Jolie and Mr. and Mrs. Smith. Except not, because I'm Team Jen. I'm looking... And it's a squirrel. A shifty squirrel. It has dodgy eyes. Keeps looking back and forth and holding onto its nuts like it has a secret to keep. It's literally just being a squirrel. I really need a new hobby. Hey, Vicky. Hey, Vicky. Babe? How you doing, babe? You're looking good. Baby. Honey, you look like a cool drink on a hot day. Ugh, no metaphor's not vivid enough. You're like the chunkiest sips in a fruit smoothie. cactus in a desert, all moist. Aphrodite and Plether. So, what's up? Okay, so that squirrel's name is Kimberly. She's the first one I met. A real pioneer as far as nut gathering in this area goes. And that's her girlfriend, Jamie. Yes, the squirrel is a lesbian, Vicky, duh. Will you just listen? You haven't even heard of the part about her mom yet. I spent a lot of time on this, you know. This whole endless afterlife thing wouldn't be so bad if I could read, or write, or scratch tally marks into the wall like a prisoner in a B movie. These girls really need to learn more about the entertainment business, because I am tired of craning my neck to watch Fox and Friends at the ranger station. A lot has changed since 2007. Apparently, a black senator from Illinois was president. Now we're at war with Hillary Clinton or something. I don't know. I don't like to get political. I just wish I had my own TV, or a copy of The Sims 2, or even a book. Well, at least I can still talk. And talk and talk. Update on the squirrel situation. I think Kimberly and Jamie are dun squirreling. Seriously though, Kim's still working on her little acorn hoard, but I haven't seen James in ages. New squirrel, codename Mrs. Squirrel Your Girl, seems to be honing in. I think she just wants Kim's stash of nuts, which are hidden about 4 inches below the pile of maple leaves. What a gold digger. Literally. I'm watching Mrs. Squirrel Your Girl now. She's watching Kim, staring at her bushy tail as she goes about her business. What a creep. Huh? Something odd's happening out there. Like, actually odd this time. There's something wrong with the mist. Looks like it's boiling over. Steaming up through the trees, but the color, it's gray, sort of like a storm cloud. I've never seen anything like it. I mean, I do try to avoid being around her. You? Still not sure how I should refer to our mystic overlord, I guess. The fog monster that was once human but now sucks on the souls of all who enter Harding Park. Whatever she/you is. She actually kind of avoids the shed now. I guess she knows it's my space. The two of us don't exactly get along, seeing how I was sacrificed on behalf of her all-powerful whatever. But today, she looks upset. In whatever intangible way she can be upset. She's getting thicker. I can't even see Mrs. Squirrel Your Girl anymore. Oh, there's a streak of silver in the leaves. Ugh, and of course, it's Mina, Vicky's ex, slithering through the foliage with her 7 million limbs. Will someone please tell her to stop trying so hard? Weird. There's Sucky, too. The crease in his forehead is rapidly becoming a trench. He's floating along the tree line, looking down. I'm gonna go see what's going on. Sucky? Why are you looking at me like that? Sucky? What's the hunt? The hunt? The hunt. The hunt. Ghosts wriggled out of every crack in those woods. Literally, one girl, Abby, she's a visual artist who died of exposure. I saw her ooze through a knothole like sap. Then there were the ghosts I didn't recognize, half faded or with their bodies long gone, just their eyeballs rolling through the grass, seeking something. Something I wanted too. I knew I had to be the one to find it. I could feel the thought pounding in my brain, heavy as a dubstep beat. Whatever we were looking for, it was powerful. There's a weight to magic things. A weight we can't usually notice because our own personal mystic monster is just that heavy. She throws the scales off balance. But this thing, it was big enough to tilt the seesaw in its direction. I could feel it like a disturbance in the force. Sidebar, I realize you may be expecting me to be shocked by the existence of this cryptid or whatever, but honestly, I think I'm way past disbelief. At this point, I'm a devotee of pretty much everything from apparitions to the zodiac. I'm a Cancer, in case you were wondering. The longer I walked, the more ghosts came into step alongside us. We were a silent, silvery river, pushing our way through the trees and stones, leaving no inch of ground unsearched. We approached the old oak where the woman in white lived. She was carefully examining each leaf on her tree. Behind her, Vicky was screaming at the top of her airless lungs. Her face was balled up as tight as her fists. Honestly, she was like vibrating with fury. "Cryptids are the original endangered species," she shouted. "Take a picture, not trophy." And then she saw me. She perked up, rushing over to where I was scanning boulders for a magical glint. "Aya," she said. I looked at her, but clearly the beast we were hunting wasn't hiding in her bell-bottom, so I looked away. Hardly recognized her, even though she was wearing her favorite Eve Was Framed t-shirt. It was like all the parts of me that liked her were scooped out of my brain with a melon baller. The hollow spaces were filled with 2 words in big red letters. The hunt. The hunt. The hunt. "Why do you keep saying the hunt?" Vicky asked. She reached for me, but I kept moving, trailing the spirits as we carved a path through the park. The forest broke up as we approached the basketball courts, and ghosts started to split accordingly. Some re-entering the trees, others spreading across the concrete. Vicky grabbed my arm as hard as she could, which, because of the whole incorporeal thing, kind of felt like getting sprayed by a hose. She started ranting about how evil all this was. Apparently, with the rapid decline of all private natural spaces, it's almost impossible to be a magical beast in this country. Paradise has been paved over for parking lots, and even national parks are crowded with tourists and their cheap drones. You wouldn't think Bigfoot and Mothman would be sitting around worrying about Google Earth, but it's a real concern. Used to be everyone had their own space. No magical being would come to Harding, too repelled by her wondrous whatever and her terrifying powers. They know enough to avoid getting soul-sucked. But nowadays, there are no other options. Whether you like our mystic master or not, she's made sure this place stays a pristine chunk of nature. A pristine chunk of nature with a crazy high mortality rate, but still. The other spirits were moving on, searching the rest of the park's massive grounds. I shook Vicky off, and she gave me her disapproving face, which, for the record, I hadn't seen in a while. It gave me pause, just for a second, long enough for me to feel something. Back where we'd been, back where the mist stretched the thinnest. There was a spot near the river where the park's boundaries pulled her a little too far. Usually that area felt dull, empty. But today I could feel it sparkling like a split wire. I turned around and Vicky trailed me. "Aya, think of the environmental consequences," she wailed. "The hunt," I replied. The forest was near empty as we retreated. Even the mist was gone. She must have been traveling with the horde, pulling herself in new directions. I hadn't realized how much she could move when she wanted to. Near the banks of the river, there was a weeping willow. The tree was massive, so old that its branches skimmed the ground. I could hardly see the gnarled trunk behind the endless trailing leaves. But there was something about it. Something spooky. I didn't stop to look at Vicky as I faced through the branches. The tree made a dome around me, dusky as church. I could only see the sky in flashes, spots of blue caught between two twigs or trapped in the ridges of a leaf. Then I looked at the ground. The cryptid was there, curled around the tree's trunk. I resisted the urge to victory whoop. The monster's top half looked like a horse. It had the same long face and sloping neck. Its eyes were closed, and its gray hide was speckled with white like the sun dappling through the branches. I could see its two front legs curled under its chest. But around the stomach, the horse half ended. Its fur thinned and gave way to a rigid exoskeleton which stretched out behind it like the tail of a snake. Under its massive behind, I could see at least 100 legs. I shuddered to look at it. I hate all bugs, let alone huge, pale gray horse bugs. I mean, this was a freaking horse centipede. A horsepede. Oh, no, centistede. Power emanated from it like heat. I could feel it against my skin, like laying on the beach after you've gone swimming, when you can feel the warmth of the sun drawing you. Next to it, I could almost imagine myself solid. Behind me, Vicky phased through the trees, and the cryptid looked up. It had a white diamond on its gray nose. I wanted to reach out and touch it. Standing in front of it was like standing in front of an oven left open. Warm and kind of scary. It whinnied at us, its 100 legs clicking as it stood. Killing it was the last thing on my mind. And then Vicky screamed. "The hunt," she yelled. "The hunt." The beast rose, its bug legs whirring, its front hooves pounding against the dirt. It broke through the dangling leaves of the willow tree and began to gallop. Vicky gave chase, but she was moving different. Wrong. She was usually so solid, just her edges blurring into the mist. But now her limbs flickered with movement. Watching her was like tilting one of those holographic baseball cards. The legs go back and forth, but the image is still strangely static. I shook my head. There was something about seeing Vicky like that cleared my mind, or at least replaced my dull need with a sort of rising panic. I chased Vicky as she chased the centistede, still not sure exactly who or what I should be following. We cornered it against the riverbank. Its 100 spindly legs left slots in the mud. Vicky stopped, and her mouth twisted into a grin. Behind us, I could feel the other ghosts coming closer, pressing in. The mist must have been clued into our location. If I were going to do something, I had to do it now. I could feel the fog still in my head, pushing me to grab the beast, to suck up all the energy it had to offer our mystic mommy. But I could feel me, too. And, well, I've always liked horses. I rushed at the centistede, dodging Vicky and her clanking combat boots. I reached forward and my fingers skimmed the hard shell of the beast's tail. It was smooth and cool, like a river rock. And I guess it actually felt me touching it because its head jerked back to bite me. I went intangible again and shoved my hand down its throat. I can't say it was the best feeling, being inside some horse's slimy maw. I'm not even sure exactly why I did it, but it felt like it'd be easier having some sort of grip on the thing. I wrapped my fingers around its tongue, which was like a slab of raw steak, and then I yanked, and out came, well, I'm not sure, its soul, its energy. There was a thin strip of gold splitting the blue sky. I could see my own fingers through it. And I kept pulling, like one of those dorky magicians with their endless scarves. I looked down at my hands and I recognized them. My skin was smooth and brown, with a few moles rising around my forearms like the bark of a tree. I concentrated on that solidity and it moved up to my shoulders, spreading onto my back. The centistede's legs wrinkled and gave out. The eyes hollowed, lights on a dimmer, and its mouth opened in a final whinny. The sound shook something in me, and I let go. The cryptid gasped. Its chest heaved. Behind me, Vicky cried out and tried to rush forward to finish what I couldn't. I thought about the power I'd just felt, the power that was still in me now. I focused on my hands and shoved the centistede right into the river. The push made a sound like a bell against its hollow tail. It thrashed in the water, struggling to stay afloat as the current carried it away. But I couldn't worry about the dangers of drowning. The river was the border of the park. As long as it was above water, it would live. My hold on my hands faded. Or maybe I just overdid it, because my fingers started splitting into a bunch of little branches like a lightning bolt. Power was still sparking up my wrists, leaving pleasurable zaps along my forearms. I looked at Vicky, who seemed to have snapped back to her senses. She reached towards me, her eyes strangely hungry, but I guess I shocked her. To me, it just felt like static electricity, but she leapt back, panicked. Other ghosts filtered through the trees, looking mostly confused and occasionally disappointed. A few of them fizzled out, fading back into the blue sky, which bummed Vicky out. She knew some of them. Spirits who've been spirits too long, who got bored, who let themselves just get eaten away. I couldn't imagine it. I mean, today was awesome. Not to say that I approve of what was clearly mind control on the part of our mystic overlord. I mean, I learned my lesson about possession with the whole Madison mess. Thank you very much. I'm totally over being selfish. But that thread I pulled, the zap I got from the centistede, well, I could get used to that feeling. Plus, now I get to make fun of Vicky for being a total hypocrite. And, well, that's always fun.
Overkill is written and directed by me, Leah Haken. Sound is by Juan Giordano, and the voice of Aya is Rebecca Rivera. For more information on all of our projects, please check out @GalPalsPresent on Instagram, Twitter, or Tumblr. We're also launching a Patreon where you can find exclusive content on all of Season 2 of Overkill. That is also @GalPalsPresent. Please join us in 2 weeks for the next episode of Overkill. In The Hunt Part 2, we'll discover what Madison feels about what's been going on. Thanks, and have a good day.
So I'm on my way to the playground with my aunt and her bratty kids when we passed by this totally trashed car. The whole front was smashed in, and the hood was basically wrinkled tinfoil. We slowed down to look because, how could you not? There was a cop car chilling next to the crash, but the driver had obviously already been taken to the hospital or the morgue or wherever. The whole windshield was shattered. My aunt was like, must have hit a deer, but I really didn't think so. My dad hit a deer once on accident, and his car was covered in the thing's blood. There was no blood on the outside of this car, not even trailing into the forest. Whatever they crashed into was either crazy tough or definitely not alive. It creeped me out. So I asked what street it was. My nephew Stefan took a break from hitting his sister to point to the street sign. And who would have guessed? It was Wrangler Road. I won't lie. My skin crawled. I don't like to be anywhere near Harding anymore. When my aunt offered me some extra spending money in exchange for dumping her kids on me, I'd made sure we were going to one of our city's less murdery playgrounds. Not that I really needed to say anything anyway. My family's been treating me like a baby ever since I got big kidnapped. In the car, my aunt put her hand on my hand, which I guess was supposed to be comforting, and she murmured some crap about moving on or facing our problems or whatever. And then she turned, and we got to Stefan and Anna's elementary school. It was out for the summer, but there were still 5 or 6 kids on the playground. My aunt gave the shrimp some big, slobbery goodbye kisses, and the 3 of us walked through the rusted fence gate. I could see forested hills rising, all scenic behind the playset, and I just knew they were a part of Harding Park. I guess you could say I had an instinct. Also, I could see the huge clouds of fog or mist or whatever tangled in the tree branches. Far away or not, I was freaked. My niece Anna went straight for the group of girls scratching curse words into the slide, and Stefan kicked some other kid off the swing. I looked around for a place to sit that wasn't occupied by a bored parent on their iPhone. The playground wasn't huge, just a jungle gym, standard playset, and 3 of those animal ridey things. You know what I'm talking about? Oh, I feel like those have a name. Give me a second. Okay. I just Googled it. Spring riders. There were 3 spring riders. One of them was a bright green frog with a weirdly smooth body. No arms or legs or webbed feet. The white paint had chipped out of its dopey cartoon eyes, so it was left with these 2 flaking holes where its sights should be. The horse was super flat, like 2-dimensional almost. I guess it's so kids can put their legs on either side of it. It was originally painted pink, but it had a whole new coat of sharpied curse words. And then there was the alligator. It had 2 seats, separated by the scales on its back. It was the newest of the spring riders, and its paint was still a vivid pea green. It had lavender eyes with small pupils. There was something unsettling about the brightness. Like when you turn the saturation up way too high on an Instagram picture and suddenly everyone looks like a demon. The mouth was curved into what was supposed to be a friendly smile, but the effect was kind of ruined by the inch or so of sharp teeth you could see behind the mostly closed lips. As long as I was going to be near Harding, I was going to be vigilant. So I sat on the merry-go-round across from the animals, staring at the hills. I hadn't seen that place in weeks. The summer had been fine, mostly, ever since camp ended early. Understatement of the century. We're all getting used to talking around it. My mom lets me do whatever I want now, but pretty much all I've wanted to do is sleep and see Sophie. I really like Sophie. She still doesn't know exactly what happened at Harding, but she kind of gets the gist. She's always pushing me to record testimony of my paranormal experiences or whatever, but I don't know. I'm not really into it. Which brings me back to the mist. The longer I looked at it, the more I felt it was moving. I guess, spreading. Actually, it kind of looked like a pot of water boiling over. I was convinced I was being paranoid and closed my eyes. But when I opened them again, there was no doubt. The mist was pressing closer. It was crawling towards the roof of the elementary school. I'd seen the mist before, obviously. I guess it's the veil or whatever it is. Dead people go beyond. I don't know. But it looked different now. Less like fog, more like a blackening storm cloud. It pushed at the playground fences and something flashed inside it like lightning. I called for Stefan. I called for Anna, but their names came out in slow motion, my voice all deep and long. I tried to move, to grab them and fucking bail, but I could hardly lift my arm. The air was so heavy. The storm cloud oozed through the slots in the fence. It blocked the sun. No one else seemed to understand what was happening. They kept tapping at phone screens or digging in sandboxes just at 1/10 of their usual speed. And their faces were lit only by the flashes from the cloud. There was a word tugging at my brain. I'd had random thoughts before, obviously, but this wasn't like that. It pulsed. It blocked everything else out, made all other thoughts impossible. It sounded like my voice, but it wasn't. The hunt, it said. The hunt. The hunt. I closed my eyes. Sometimes, when things are like really hard, there's nothing more comforting than the dark behind my eyelids. I imagined the word hunt, and it seared into my vision, bright red. And then I pictured it in Comic Sans just to take a little of the scared shitless out of the situation. I knew I had to push the word out of me. I fantasized about blowing my nose. I considered crying. I even imagined myself peeing in my new Hollister jean shorts. I clenched my fists, and my fingers moved at a normal speed. The word was gone. I opened my eyes. I was the only one who'd snapped out of slow motion. I took a step towards my frozen family, and then I heard a growl. It was the frog. Because, of course, the animal righty things were alive. Because this is my life, and lately everything around me is a total disaster. And the pink horse rocked hard against its metal stand, craning to reach me. Fuck it all was scratched into its ear and outlined with Sharpie. The frog turned its plastic neck to look at me, and its unpainted eyes were all shadow. And the alligator, well, he opened his mouth. It was like unsheathing a dozen swords. His teeth stretched on and on, way too long to have fit into his hollow plastic skull. And these fangs? They were definitely not approved for children 13 and under. You could still see his old smile lines on his teeth. And there was a strip of weathered off-white paint where the 2 inches of teeth had been exposed to the sun. And the frog growled again. And it sounded like it was saying, the hunt. Because, okay, apparently they could kind of talk too. Seriously, fuck this so much. They were all rocking now. So fast, they basically had cartoon motion lines around them. I was running away because Duh. The mist was gathering thick around the people, slowing them into stillness. I grabbed Stefan's arm and tried to pull him, but as soon as I touched his skin, I was back in slow motion. I let go. I thought about running. The spring riders only seemed interested in me. I don't know why, but I guess I had something more worth taking. And then I looked down at the brat and knew I couldn't just leave him and his sister there. I love the little monsters. I needed a plan. The horse snapped its stand first. Its sloped bottom hit the concrete and it started to scoot forward inch by inch. Next to the buffering families, it looked like a speeding bullet. And it was coming for me. I moved away from Stefan and its stare followed. Great. The frog broke off its stand too. And then, with a crash, the alligator reached the ground. The frog's flaking eyes didn't seem to work too well because it was struggling to find a path clear of the playground equipment. Alligator, it was fast. When it rocked forward, its teeth clattered against the concrete. I did the only thing I could think to do and ran onto the playset. I mean, I'm 13. I don't have a car, and I took a sacred oath to babysit or whatever. I wasn't exactly fit to run anywhere safer. I bolted up the kiddie steps and hoped the wild bunch couldn't follow. The alligator went right past the steps. He moved instead towards the slide, where Anna was scratching the world's slowest insult into the tube. His purple eyes, so garish against the pea-green face, narrowed. And I just reacted. I jumped off the playset and onto its back. I landed a bit on the spike, so yeah, okay, that hurt. The alligator rolled forward, trying to buck me off, but I grabbed the handlebars and tightened my legs around its sides. Luckily, the thing was built for children, so my feet touched the ground. I dug them into the dirt, trying to keep us still, but the plastic beast was still gnashing its massive fangs. I looked behind me, and the horse had stopped to nudge the sightless frog in the right direction. They were moving towards us fast. I held on tight to the handlebars and thought, help, please, God, Satan, Aya, whoever, I will take help from literally anything. And then I changed my mind and was like, please help from someone at least kind of good, because I didn't want to go accidentally trading my soul to some demon wannabe or whatever. The alligator stopped trying to buck me off and turned, fast. There was a man standing there. I almost started crying. It was Richard, the homeless guy who found me last year after Chad tried to straight up murder me. He was running towards us, moving at an actually normal pace. I guess that whatever I have, he had too, because the monsters headed towards him now. But he just put his hands up, like a wannabe Chris Pratt in Jurassic World. The mist shifted away from him as he moved, almost like he had an invisible force field. I tried to keep the alligator in place, but my feet were dragging through the wood chips. And then Richard smiled, and it all just stopped. We were frozen. Then there was a sound, like a bell in an empty room. And the mist rolled back. The spring riders collapsed onto the ground. The alligator's mouth closed, its plastic lips curling into a smile. Everything was normal again. Sort of. No one else had noticed a thing. I said thank you to Richard like a dozen times. He kept saying no problem and looking off. Obviously, he's not used to compliments. The other parents looked suspiciously at him, which, fuck you guys. You're totally chill with supernatural forces quicksanding your kids, but can't deal with a homeless dude? Especially a guy like Richard, who's basically sunshine personified. Just being around him makes me feel better. Especially now. Because I know I wanted to live my life in ignorance or whatever, but that was before I knew all this scary supernatural stuff could follow me outside of Harding. And before, when all I had to do was avoid a dumb park for the rest of my life, it seemed easy. But if this is just a thing, if I'm doomed to see creepy shit forever, well, I'm glad there's someone else who gets it. And I guess that's how I ended up agreeing to take magic lessons from the homeless dude who sort of saved my life this summer. It's a long story, I know. I hope he doesn't assign homework. This is supposed to be a vacation, you know? And trade in my life now. I'd like a newer model.
Overkill is written and directed by Leah Hagen. Sound is by me, Juan Giordano. The voice of Madison is Christina Gayton. For more information on all of our projects, please follow at GalPalsPresent on Instagram, Twitter, or Tumblr. You can also support the show by donating to our Patreon or leaving a 5-star review. It really means a lot. Thanks.
I am exhausted. And it sucks because my week was going so great before. I think it's been a week. Time is weird. Either way, I've been buzzing ever since the whole hunt thing ended. I hung out a lot with Vicky, wilted the grass into little crop circles just to freak Helen out. We even convinced half a dozen ghosts to go skinny dipping. And our little crook of the river actually froze in 100-degree heat. A couple of the park rangers came over to stare at it. One of them even brought their skates, which seems like the right attitude to have about working here. I don't know, I've just had a lot of energy. I've been buzzing like the strip of soul that I took from the centipede has nestled itself inside me, running like a wire where my veins used to be. Earlier today, Vicky and I were floating on our backs along the river, indifferent to the waves, letting ourselves be pushed this way and that as the river bends and the park's boundaries pulled us back in. I was concentrating on holding Vicky's hand, focusing all my energy on that simple press of skin. So I really didn't mind the mist looping around my ankles and wrists. Vicky was humming, satisfied. Then I looked around and I realized I had no idea where the river led out. I didn't know if the cryptid had been dragged to the ocean or clambered to the shore in the city, and I wasn't sure which was more dangerous. What do you think happened to it? I asked Vicky. She looked at me out of the corner of her eye, and I clarified. The centipede. I didn't realize you were a bug person, she said, her grin lazy, her skin glinting in the sunlight. I'm not, I said. I'm just worried. I'm sure it's fine. Where'd you see it anyway, on a leaf? And I shot up because, Vicky was there when I caught the centipede. She went all rabid like the rest of us had. But when I pushed her on the details, she just stared at me, her brow crinkling like tissue paper. I started rushing my way through the story, but when I mentioned the mist boiling up through the trees, she stopped me. What mist? I lifted an arm. The mist followed my movement, sliding around my wrist, sleepy like a snake. Vicky turned her face fully towards me, but her expression didn't change. Her legs tilted towards the river's outer edge, and I could see thick ropes of fog tugging her back. "You seriously don't see it," I said. Vicky shook her head. And I was like, "But I told you about it. And I know I did. I remember laying out the whole thing for her. It wasn't exactly me talking the whole time, but the point is it was laid out and she was there." But she just blinked and said, "No, you told me about Chad sacrificing you and Madison. You didn't say anything about this weather demon, did you say?" And I told her it's a fog, a cloud. In a last-ditch effort, I explained that sometimes it looks like smoke. And then Vicky oh'd, and she laughed. "Are you talking about Stonehenge?" Stonehenge, it will not surprise you to discover, is Harding Park's haven for stoners. I don't know if this place existed already in 2007 and I just wasn't cool enough to hear about it, but I've never been there, even in my afterlife. The name's cringy, but accurate. Stonehenge looks like some massive, inexplicably avant-garde sculpture. You have to drive through half a dozen crossroads and a couple super deep potholes before you get to it. It used to be just a scenic overlook with some benches and a small parking lot, but then there was an earthquake, and, well, Harding isn't exactly known for its speedy maintenance workers. The ground cracked open. Huge slabs of the parking lot burst from the ground, loose gravel filling in at their edges. No one ever removed the cracked concrete. Instead, it was laid out across the landscape in some super random design. One piece, wide at the base and thin near the top, fell diagonally onto a second, even thicker slab. You could still see the yellow parking lot lines slanting across their surfaces. But the concrete slabs weren't the only objects in the pattern. Actually, it's kind of a do-it-yourself death trap, a mix of loose trash and stuff people probably stole from other areas of the park. There's this one sculpture right in the center. It's just two benches stacked on top of each other, like 10 feet high, unstable as a kindergartner's block tower. They're attached to each other with a lot of duct tape. And maybe some mediocre welding work. On top of the benches, there's a paper sculpture made of Popeye's boxes. Someone taped the boxes into a rough sphere and painted their insides silver, so it looked like a low-rent geode. Kind of pretty, though. Of course, none of this has anything to do with why Vicky brought me here. Stonehenge, like the rest of Harding Park, has plenty of mist around. It also tends to gather a lot of smoke. I say smoke and not mist because there's a difference, even if Vicky can't see it. The mist is like eternal. It doesn't disappear on Sunday mornings when all the teenagers are asleep. But there was plenty of smoke out there that day, mostly rising from one group of kids near the edge of the scenic outlook. One of them, dumbass, as I'd like to call him, was dangling his feet off the side. Oh, and there was something else there. Someone, I should say. She's still a person. She's just... she's eyes. Like literally, just two eyes bobbing independently of each other through the mist. Her name's Freya. She's the architect of Stonehenge. I guess it's weird. Vicky wasn't surprised to see her. She waved. Freya didn't speak, but she did look in our direction. Her giant eyeballs had about a dozen pupils each, all ringed by different colored irises. One or two of the pupils flicked in our direction. They moved up and down like they were nodding at Vicky. It was kind of trippy, like watching the world's creepiest disco ball. Then she turned back to what she was doing. One of her eyes was locked on a teenager who can really only be described as an even taller Shaggy Doo. Maybe I'm just not hip enough to get the aesthetic, but for real, Shaggy was lying on a quilt of old t-shirts, which someone had hung between two trees like a hammock. They puffed out their weed cigarette and passed it to their friends. The other potheads were sitting on a fallen tree trunk with the bark carved into a cool honeycomb pattern. None of them seemed aware of the massive eye just inches from them. Freya's other eye was focused on an abandoned Dorito bag. I asked Vicky what she was doing, but also I whispered because I'm still not sure about the hearing capacities of giant eyeball spirits. She died here, Vicky said. Earthquake, I think. Honestly, I can't remember. They all blend together after a while. Either way, she told me that Freya had become obsessed with the reshaping of this land. She spent all of her time here sculpting, working towards the completion of the world's weirdest design, which was hard given her inability to actually touch anything on her own. As we watched, her gaze stayed on Shaggy. Shaggy scratched the back of their neck, their bony knuckles sliding harmlessly through the eyeball goop. Freya kept watching. We kept watching her watching. The marijuana burnt to embers. Shaggy drifted off in the middle of sentences, stared blankly off in the mid-distance. Slowly, I noticed Shaggy's gaze shifting. It began to fix on the Doritos bag. The group laughed on, but Shaggy put a hand up, shaking their head. I'm sorry, man, but this is driving me crazy. And they stood up, walked over to the bag of chips, and grabbed it. But they didn't just toss it into one of those outposts overflowing trash cans. Instead, they smoothed down the plastic, staring placidly at the logo. The eyeball nearest them lolled away, towards a strip of barbed wire that hung like a clothesline between a slab of concrete and an old street lamp. There were already objects hanging there. Red tennis shoes, a green Mountain Dew can, a blue bodega bag. The pattern was well established. Red, green, blue, red, green, blue. Shaggy thought for a moment, and then they hung the red Doritos bag next to an old Evian bottle. My mouth opened. She's influencing them, I hissed. Vicky nodded, her arms crossed, and I was like, what the fuck? So we're just fine with this? After all the shit I got for possessing Madison? And Vicky was like, no, but I've tried to make her stop for decades now. You really want to give a go? One of Freya's pupils, ringed with blue, turned my way. I shook my head. Yeah, no thank you. We were hardly a blip to Freya. She was rolling on. One eye moved towards a hula bobblehead on the dashboard of the Stoner's ridiculously clean Prius. The other eye focused on a bug-thin girl with a full sleeve of Beetlejuice tattoos. As Freya moved, I could see the thick cord of mist connecting her eyes like an optic nerve. Don't you see that? I asked Vicky. Aya, I'm the one who introduced you. Of course I can see her. And I tried to be like, no, that's not what I meant. And Vicky started to ask if I could just explain then, but I guess Freya got annoyed because there was a rumble from her side of the park, like boulders shifting in a cave. Shush, she said. And then Vicky was like, excuse me, and I was like, we're talking here. No one ever talks over me and Vicky, except for sometimes me and Vicky. Focus, Freya said, like that counted as a reply. I piffed and said, there's no way this is that hard. Freya rolled every one of her irises at me and I boiled over. Tell me what you're trying to do, I said. I can make her do it in a second. Freya didn't speak again, but her goal was clear. I wanted the Beetlejuice tattoo girl to grab the bobblehead. I could do that. I floated towards the girl. Go get that kind of racist, probably ironic hula figurine, I thought. I could feel the idea swelling like a note in my stomach. Go! And she shot up. Vicky looked impressed, despite herself. All of Freya's pupils dilated. The girl's friends called after her, but she was already yanking open the truck door, her hands wrapped around the hula dancer's waist. Hey! Shaggy called. Don't steal my shit! She ignored them and tugged at the bobblehead. I realized too late that it was attached to the dashboard, but she didn't seem to care. She clawed at the leather, her stubby nails struggling for purchase. I couldn't move. I felt like the health bar in a video game, trickling down. Her friends rushed towards her, but she smacked their hands away. She put her mouth to the base of the statue and gnawed at the plastic. My vision dimmed. Beetlejuice girl was all I could see. Make her stop, Vicky called. Aya! I opened my eyes and the girl was crying, collapsed onto the ground. Her nails were bleeding, her head was between her knees. I looked down at myself and my image was wobbling like jello. My stomach seemed to be melting. Vicky looked too worried to be mad. She reached for me, but I wasn't solid enough for any kind of grip, and her hand slid through me. I could feel the mist clinging to her skin, impossible and necessary as ice water in the desert. I moved closer to Vicky. She tried to wrap her arms around my neck, and the mist pushed against my ears. I sucked it in like air. I remembered how to hold myself together again. And when I finally looked up, Freya was still staring at the hula figurine. Her other eye had rolled back towards Shaggy.
Overkill is written and directed by Leah Hagen. Sound production is by Juan Giordano, starring Rebecca Rivera as Aya. For more information on all of our projects, please follow Gal Pals Present on Instagram, Twitter, or Tumblr. You can also support the show by donating to our Patreon and leaving a 5-star review. Thanks.
There's a cherry tree growing in Harding Park. Nobody planted it. It doesn't belong to an orchard or old lady with a pie-baking Ponzi scheme. It's not part of the Harding Community Garden, which is really just a haven for hipsters who like the look of dirt under their black nail polish. I don't know where the tree came from. Actually, maybe some bird shook the seed off its back. Or somebody just spat their pit into a wet patch of dirt and it grew, unwanted, on its own. The sun shone, and the rain came, and boom, a tree. It could happen anywhere. It just, grew. There's no sinister backstory. It has nothing to do with magic or census deeds or Madison. It's just here. And, well, I don't know if anyone's ever really looked at it before. Not just seen it on a hike, but actually looked at it. Spent time with it. Its roots break up the soil, rising like a sea serpent from the murky depths. Its trunk is massive. It stretches up and up, fighting the rest of the forest just to catch a few rays. There's tons of trees out here. All types I'm not smart enough to name. They block out the sun. Everyone always talks about cherry trees in springtime. The white blossoms clustering around the boughs, smelling like a picnic without ants. I wonder if there's any other plant with a reputation like that, only known for the way it pre-games the harvest. But cherry trees are beautiful in summertime too. The leaves are pale green, always backlit by the sun, so they look like little glowing discs against the sky. They grow close together, close enough to look like vines in some places. The cherries sprout like Christmas ornaments, little red baubles popping in a patchwork of green foliage and blue, blue sky. You know, cherries are my favorite fruit. Were, I guess, my favorite fruit. Obviously, I haven't eaten one in a while, but I still remember my classmates' faces when I brought a box of cherries to class for my 10th birthday snack. That was a splurge for me and my mom at the time. I know cherries aren't at the top of most people's best snack lists. They think of them as a garnish, a topping, a spot of red bobbing in their glass. They don't stop to enjoy the slight rush of sour, the little shreds of skin that get caught between your teeth. I really miss my teeth. I wonder how many people have ever even had a fresh cherry. They probably think of them like I think of cranberry sauce or Hostess cupcakes. Something industrial, canned, manufactured. I used to work at this restaurant and I remember peeling back the lid on a can of cherry filling and getting totally grossed out. It was red and gelatinous, as the costume blood you buy at Halloween. But fresh cherries aren't like that. When I was a kid, back when my mom and I lived in a 4-story walk-up in Bed-Stuy, there was hardly any greenery around. But there was this one cherry tree that practically grew into our windows. No one else in our building ever touched it, clearly terrified of pesticides or the near infinite number of germs crawling through New York. My mom, well, she wasn't like that. I've never seen her afraid, even when she should have been. She was 32 when I was born, which is practically ancient where I come from, and I guess it gave her an extra firmness. She always told people I was an accident, but I know that's not true. She was no stranger to premarital sex, not after coming here on a student visa and getting the true college experience, aka learning how to roll a joint and suck dick. She knew how to use a condom. She was a research assistant in a bio lab at CUNY, for Christ's sakes. Honestly, I think she was just tired of waiting for someone else to build her family. She wanted to make a real home. Funny how she still ended up lonely. When she noticed the cherries budding outside her window, her eyes glowed like a mirror left in the sun. As always, she went right to work. The landlord had jammed all the building's windows so they only opened a few inches, and Mom had to break the hatch so we could crawl out onto the fire escape. It was beautiful out there. The tree branches grew alongside the rusted metal, so you had to crawl across parts of the platform to get to the industrial stairs. We wormed our way through the leaves to fill my mom's trusty purse with dozens of overripe cherries. She was at her happiest out there, scaling the outside of the building, weighing herself down with something actually worth holding for once. I thought she looked like a fairy queen or a new kind of Disney princess. Her thick hair tied up and her brown arms stretched out among the leaves. No one else ever touched that tree. But my mom, she saw life how it was, wherever it sprouted. She taught me to notice. Showed me a whole new world, to borrow some Disney phraseology. And then she taught me how to speak myself into it. She was used to having an experience only she could articulate, used to forcing herself in where she wasn't wanted. She made me the melodramatic metaphor-spouting nerd that I am. She's the reason I still notice a cherry tree, even if it is in the middle of a huge forest. We would wash the fruit in our cracked strainer and dump it into the popcorn bowl, our fingers reddened as we ate, our hands sticky with juice. Aya, Mom would say, "Mi amor, si manchas la cobija de tu abuela, te lo juro." She really treasured stuff. Even her hideous cat painting that she found at a flea market. I bet she still has a stack of my kindergarten drawings on her nightstand. Cherries are super pulpy around the pit. You ever notice that? I used to roll them along my tongue, my teeth scraping at the bits of fruit that cling there. God, I even miss biting my tongue. I wanted that burst of flavor again. Want to feel the sour mush dissolve in my mouth. Earlier today, I floated to the top of the cherry tree, focusing on the way it moved through the leaves. Phasing is something all ghosts can do, but it isn't always easy. It's like walking into the ocean. The second you enter, there's something working to push you back. I made myself small as a thumbnail, light as a single tiny strain of a single tiny feather. I broke the tree line. For the first time in ages, I was outside Harding, above its immediate confines. I could still see the mist below, tangling like cotton in the trees. But up here, the sky was blue, and essentially endless. The treetops waved, the breeze making its own tides among the leaves. Everything was vibrant, beautiful and alive. The sun sparkled across the forest, and there was a cherry there, bright as a star atop the Christmas tree. I moved towards it and imagined my mouth, rebuilding my molars from the inside out. My eyes stayed locked on the cherry as I pushed canines out my spectral gum. My mouth ached, a phantom pain. I yanked my new jaw open and took a bite. But the cherry only crumbled between my teeth, phasing into dirt at the touch of them. I don't know if it still tasted like anything. I'd forgotten to make myself a tongue.
Overkill is a weekly podcast. Make sure to tune in next week. Writing is by Leah Hagen. Rebecca Rivera plays Aya. Thanks to all of our Patreon supporters. It really means a lot. Make sure to follow us at Gal Pals Present on Instagram and other social media. This is Juan Giordano, sounding off.
Hello! From Mag, Mothers Against Aliens and Ghosts, I'm coming to you live from my living room. God-awful crown molding and all. I keep meaning to tear all this down, but you ladies know how it is. Especially now that Mag membership is up. Thanks to everyone who supported our group garage sale at the old Kent estate. Talk about a haunted house, right? Speaking of, I've been getting lots of questions about Harding Park lately, of course. Everybody wants to know about that old cult and its leader, Richard, or as I like to call him, Dick. Ha! Folks have always been curious about his order of the unfogged, and I just thought, Miss Middleton, you get off that counter right now. Oh, these cats, I swear, they just don't listen. Sophie, did you feed Kit Middleton? Sophie! Oh, Sophie's gone, I forgot. She used to be such a homebody. I never thought I'd miss the days when she locked herself in her room watching hentais or whatever they call those Japanese cartoons. But she's got a little girlfriend now, so I guess she can't hang around here all day. Sophie wouldn't like it if she knew I was talking about a friend. It's Madison, just so you know. That poor girl got attacked in the park last month. I went to her first court thing just to see if I could sense any paranormal energy. But looks like that guy was just another old pervert. Typical. If he'd tried to go for my Sophie, I'll tell you one thing. He wouldn't have made it to prison. No how, no way. Those two girls sure do look strange together, though. Madison and Sophie. It's not because of the whole gay thing. I'm just as with the times as Denise and her son, the amazing metrosexual ballerina. Thank you very much. I just never thought Sophie'd go for someone so pink. She's always complaining about girly stuff, even when I bought her that adorable Ouija board for camp. And Madison is just the prettiest little ringleader. I can't imagine what they talk about. Well, at least Sophie feels included. I took away the Ouija board, by the way. With my recent experiences, it just doesn't feel right to let Sophie play around with it. We're just lucky nothing happened already. I hate to think of it outside my expert hands. But we're talking about Dick. Oh, he was an asshole, if you don't mind me saying. God, I love an empty house. Asshole! Don't learn from my language, Mrs. Middleton. Anyway, Richard started off as a preacher in one of those new agey kumbaya places where the Bible matters as much as the rhythm in your soul. I think he was Episcopal, something like that. Either way, he was real popular. His congregation swelled up like my gutters in rainy season until all the muck and slime inside oozed out over the edges. Dick just couldn't keep his crazy in. He started talking demons and his own divine responsibility to overcome them. America was being tortured, and the people had to listen to him if we were going to make it through. He got to sounding like those Trump guys, to be honest. All hysteria, all the time. His church threw him out on his behind. But some people still followed him. And they made up the so-called Order of the Unfogged, named for their clear minds, I guess. They were all about some ancient demon. I don't remember what they called her. Something long and Latin-y, I'm sure. She was his big bad wolf, looming over things. And of course, Dick painted himself as the hero of the story. Isn't that just like a man? He says there's some evil lady energy sucking up all our morality, and everyone runs to help him kill it. Of course, everybody talks about his sad childhood. When it first happened, the news kept going on and on about his cop father and some incident with his nightstick, but that's all crap. I'd be the last person to raise a fist to my kid, but no amount of walloping is enough to excuse a cold-blooded killer. If everyone with a crappy childhood led a cult, there'd be nobody left to follow them. Richard did the usual stuff. Talked to the dead, channeled God, all that. He claimed to be a psychic, which just drives me wild. I hate all these fake seers. Denise. Once you know what it's really like, you just can't listen to the crazies. Then again, I never understood why anybody would join his cuckoo cult. It wasn't even one of the fun ones, you know, the ones with all the LSDs and ORGs. Don't tell my daughter, but there was a time when I saw the appeal of all that free love and stuff. Or at least the version I saw in old movies. But Richard wasn't interested in earthly anything. He moved his followers into Harding Park, where they built a crappy little shed to live in. He said it was so they could observe the so-called demon, but I'm betting he just wanted to save on rent. They all slept on the floor in sleeping bags. They wore whatever they came there in. Mostly jeans, real dirty. They looked just awful. But there wasn't much bad going on. At least not until the end. At least he never beat anybody or let his dick run their lives. Instead, they were spending all their time getting ready for the big showdown. It was a big ritual, and there were all sorts of restrictions. You had to have a full stomach, so they saved food for weeks just to eat it on the day. No taking a crap or washing your clothes. All of them were wearing denim on denim, but I don't know if that was a rule or just a bad style choice. There's a whole bunch of these tapes of Richard preaching about it. Hours and hours of audio, but I've never been able to stomach it. The details don't matter. He was talking out his behind anyway, telling them about sacrifice, power to power, stuff like that. Crap. You know the kind. The night it happened, it was cold as my steering wheel in December. People all over the city felt it. The weatherman at the time, Mr. Flowers, oh, he was a bit of a hunk, you know. I always made a point to watch him. I remember he was talking about the fog. A whole city's worth of fog, like a fleece blanket over our neighborhood's little couch. My mom wouldn't let us go outside, said the traffic was too terrible. Cars would speed right over us. Of course, that was back in my day when preteens liked to play outside. That shed must have been near invisible that night, like a spider in a cereal box. There was no electricity in the building, no candles found nearby, just the fog and the people. 17 innocents settling onto the ground for the last time. When the cops found them, they were sitting neatly against the walls, their bodies an even uglier brand of wood paneling. Their backs were straight. They sat on top of their sleeping bags and their legs pointed toward the center of the room, their feet bare under their bulky jeans. When I first heard, I figured they'd all been high as kites. Some thought it'd be poison. That's what all the Cocoa Puffs use, right? I remember listening to the news on the little TV by the kitchen table and staring down at my glass of Kool-Aid, shocked and awed. When Mr. Flower's section came on, he looked white as, well, a ghost, I guess. But by the time they tested the bodies, the talk screens came up clear. They hadn't taken anything, at least not anything that the cops could find. Each of the members had a single identical wound. It was right between the eyes, holes as deep as the ones I drilled into Sophie's treehouse. Folks said it was the neatest shot they'd ever seen, but nobody ever found a bullet, and there was no trace of any blood. The dirt floors were clean as they could be, well swept and even. But somebody killed somebody here somehow. The holes had crusted over already, like scabs, skin hard and flaky like the scales of a garden snake. The skulls were cracked, but there was no exit wound to match. If you look at those crime scene photos long enough, you get caught in them. The wounds tug you in, turn 3D as an old baseball card. They start to look like the rings on a tree, uneven and aged, spiraling into their skulls. The people's eyes were still open. All the caskets were closed. And of course, old Dick was nowhere to be found. Oh, it makes my blood boil. Police wasted hours looking for him, speculating about the murder weapon and missing evidence. I may not be the crispest card in the terror deck, but one thing I know is that no human weapon does harm like that. Don't get me wrong. People fuck each other up all the time. I've known girls who got their guts shot out by their husbands and friends who beat the crap out of each other after a few drinks. But this was either God or something trying real hard to be like him. Those people weren't just killed. They were hollowed out like jack-o'-lanterns. I get the heebie-jeebies just thinking about it. If you know me, you know my theory. Richard wasn't trying to banish any demon. He was trying to birth one. He chose Harding for its history and the quiet. The same reason everyone from drug dealers to serial killers ends up there sometime. He went to Harding and he organized a sacrifice. Power for power. Or whatever it was he was saying. Their lives for his undeath. Not worth it. You know, whoa, Kit Middleton. What's on your paws, you naughty girl? You come here.
Overkill is written and directed by Leah Hagen. The voice of Helen is me, Rebecca Rivera, and sound is by Huion H610PRO. In episode 6, Madison begins to learn about magic. In the meantime, check out @GalPalsPresent on Twitter, Instagram, or Tumblr, or consider supporting us on Patreon. We really appreciate it.